Good morning, Montessori Beginnings families. Um, this morning, I'm going to talk a little bit about what to offer your child at home when they're interested either in throwing or dumping and filling. So to check in today, you could tell us who you are, who your child is if you want to share their name, or if not, just how old they are. And remember, do the check-in in the comments. And then you could tell us something that your child has been interested in that fits in this category, if they are. For example, if your child is a younger baby, maybe they're not throwing things yet, but they're reaching out to grasp things, right? That would be an earlier um, developmental activity that precedes throwing. So I am aware that even on a beautiful morning like today, most families are spending quite a big chunk of time inside with their children. And when a child becomes interested in what it's like to throw things, like to hold on to something and then let go, they can want to practice it with everything, so that it seems like every item in your house was designed to be a projectile. So I wanted to just give you some examples of things that you could find around the house that are more appropriate for throwing. Another thing that you can do once you've chosen some things that are available for throwing is you can also choose something that is designed for throwing into. And it can be really simple. For example, I just have this bag that I've put a bunch of things in that I'm going to show you for throwing, but once it's empty, it would be an excellent target for throwing into. So, I think this is a tried and true thing that you can make paper airplanes for your child to throw. And if you're concerned about the point, you can certainly blunt the point a little bit when they're throwing it. Another option that you might not have thought of is rolled up socks. They are great for throwing, but you don't have to give them the whole laundry basket full of socks, maybe just like 3 or 4 pairs and then a laundry basket to throw them into. I talked with a creative movement specialist at a Montessori conference a few years ago, and she talked about how the way that toddlers initially throw is like this. And so she recommended more of a frisbee type throwing for their first practice at throwing. But because their hands are so small, she talked about how coasters are just a perfect first throwing object. And you could even tape a little spot on the floor for them to aim at. Although remember, children under 2, we're still just looking for them to throw without direction. So I wouldn't expect them to hit it. Just choose a soft coaster, like a cardboard coaster works really well. This one is a knit or wound coaster. Those work really well too. Some balls are better than others in the house, so ping pong balls can be really great. They now sell at stores snowballs, they call them. Sometimes they sell them for Easter too, but I wanted to show you how you can make them at home. You can make them at home. This is just yarn that I wound around a couple of fingers, and then I tied the center and cut it. And then it made this little puff ball. So those are great for throwing. Another option for this is a cotton ball. And then you can always have something, when they're wanting to throw puzzle pieces, you could say, oh, puzzle pieces rest on the floor, but you can throw this pom-pom, having an option inside. I don't have any bean bags at home, but I did have a pumpkin that's full of beans. So these they like because they're heavy. And so they can throw those inside at a target. Another thing, if you happen to have weighted balls at home, toddlers really like that maximum effort of lifting something heavy. So I'll often put those out in my environment at school, or I would have them at home. The other thing that children between 1 and 2 years of age really love to do is to take whatever you've put out for them and empty it out. And then usually you're the one who fills. Although some children really like the act of gathering things. So I want to show you a few things that you can do that with. This is something that I have at school that I brought home. So it's just a bag that pulls shut, and the children, I usually do show them how they can put their hands in to pull it open, and they just love to see what's inside. You could put any little group of things in a bag like this, and they would really enjoy it. And in fact, another option, if you don't have something soft for throwing, is to fill a very small bag with like tissue or something like that, and that can be easy to throw. So in this case, I have puppets in the bag. And so the children can take out the puppets. And when it's something like this, they often do enjoy refilling it. I wanted to show you just some things I put together thinking about if I had a child that was exploring simple objects. At this stage, they're more interested in exploration and exploring things. So in Montessori, we call this a treasure basket. And it's just full of treasures. Though I just searched in my kitchen in this case. They don't have to be kitchen objects. They could be just about anything. In this case, I had a funnel. I have a ladle. Children really love to play with spoons, I've noticed. A small container that the child can open and close, and then I have this little honey stick. So the basket is interesting to dump out of and refill, and they might really enjoy doing that. If you don't have a bag to hide things in, you can also just take a piece of fabric and put it over the top of the basket, and then the things are hidden and they have to unveil them to see them. They can like that a lot. And the last thing I wanted to show you, if your child is really interested in gathering things, then it can be really fun to fill up a purse with things that they can engage with. I'm gonna grab the purse. And I just walked around my house. I found a purse in the closet, and I put a notebook in. And then it's nice to put things in every section because then they can look through. I put in some keys that we don't use anymore. When I put out a key, I just add some kind of fob to it so that it's too big to choke on. And if you're uncomfortable with the key, you could just put in the fob without the key. They would still think of it as keys. I put in an old credit card because they like to have things that we have. And then in this section, I can't even remember what I put in. Oh, I put in a headband and a big comb and some sunglasses. So they will really enjoy taking everything out and putting it back in, and maybe that can be an entertaining thing. Purses are so fun because they see how important they are to us. I think similarly with the kitchen items, like those are real things we use and they are excited to get their hands on them and work with them. So I hope some of these ideas are helpful for you while you're spending lots of time at home. And I look forward to talking to you all again next week.